Derek, this weather system packing strong winds, threatening storm surges and flooding. What's the latest?
Yeah, conditions are deteriorating very quickly over the eastern half of the Philippines. We'll get into details in just one moment. I've been very active on social media this evening and currently, and I'm seeing a lot of pictures. Some of the first images coming out of this area, the rain and the wind already lashing Samar Island, even into Tacloban. You can see some of the outer rain bands starting to swirl in outside of the center of the storm, which is still roughly 125 kilometers offshore. That gives it another 9 to 10 hours before we receive a landfall across the northeastern portions of Samar Island. Look at how slow it's moving, westerly at 9 kilometers per hour. This makes it a major concern for the potential of flooding because how slow the storm actually is moving. This is the forecast projected path. Basically, the cone of uncertainty is what we refer to this. Anyone within this highlighted blue area from Manila late Monday evening through Legazpi and more currently the eastern half of the Samar Island. This is where we're going to focus our attention over the next several days. There's several different meteorological agencies indicating different paths or different scenarios for the eye wall to make landfall. The CNN Weather Center and the meteorologists believe that that due westerly component will continue impacting, again, northeastern Samar Island before entering the central Philippines, eventually impacting Manila by late Monday evening. Current conditions across the area look like this. Cebu and the airport just outside of Tacloban reporting wind gusts of about 33 kilometers per hour. Remember, the strongest of winds still offshore, but we are starting to feel typhoon, or rather tropical storm force winds along the east coast of the Philippines. Now, the Pagasa warning system has been highlighted over much of the southern Luzon islands, including Legazpi. You're in a very precarious position for the possibility of some hefty coastal storm surge. Here's why. You are going to be on the northern side of this particular storm and the eye wall. That is going to bring a compounding effect with the wind pushing up the waves. It's also coinciding with a full moon, which just exacerbates the potential of coastal flooding across that area. And keep in mind, Samar Island, not that highly populated, but as it moves inland, the storm, Legazpi, and eventually into Manila, we're talking about populations upwards of 12 million. And by the way, Aisha, these rainfall totals, they're not typos.
Wow, it is very frightening indeed. We'll continue to watch the situation very closely. Derek, appreciate it. Thank you. Well, Typhoon Hagupit is passing north of Tacloban, which was devastated last year by Typhoon Haiyan. Although it appears the city won't take a direct hit this time, Tacloban is already being hit by rain and conditions are still expected to be dangerous. Pamela Boykoff has more.
Clutching her 1-month-old son, Christina Hilaria remembers the moment 1 year ago that Typhoon Haiyan trapped her in her home.
We were trapped. We ran to hide somewhere, so we will be safe. We are very afraid at that time because we don't know that there is a storm surge. Because
Christine and her sister won't make the same mistake this time. With Typhoon Hagupit bearing down on Tacloban, they are headed to a local hotel better built than their home. They know they may lose the house that took 6 months to rebuild, but better to lose a home and to keep their lives. More than 6,000 perished when Typhoon Haiyan made its deadly sweep across this part of the Philippines last year. The memory of that storm drove tens of thousands from their homes. More than 20,000 poured into evacuation centers across the city. Schools, gymnasiums, and churches turned into cramped, noisy safe havens.
They didn't take chances. Many of them decided to evacuate even before we asked them to evacuate.
All around, signs of a city preparing for the worst. A hospital boards up its windows. Drivers stock up on fuel. The army, accused of having a late response to the last storm, stands at the ready. In San Jose, the neighborhood hardest hit by Haiyan, a lone surfer takes advantage of the growing waves, but no one else is taking pleasure in the approaching storm. Nearly everyone we spoke to said they plan to evacuate, but not Ramil Arania. He's staying behind to protect his house from looters. If the water starts to rise like last time, he'll run, but he's very scared.
Lahat naman kami dito.
I pray the storm will just disappear, he says. Not to hit another place, but just disappear.